in the Commonwealth. We have over 1.2 billion young people across the 53 Commonwealth countries that span over the 6 continents we have. And I'll just go briefly to my presentation. And my presentation will be on the topic achieving good governance and accountability. But before you go deeper into the discussion, I think it's very imperative to have a definition or the concept governance first before getting details. Governance first before we can define good governance, because there are 2 words, good and governance. Now, very important, governance is the process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented. So the term governance can apply to corporate organizations, international, national, and local government levels, or the interaction between these sectors. But for this presentation, we're going to conceptualize the word governance into national leadership or government. It's very easy to understand governance through national leadership or government. And the government shouldn't be confused from the word governance. Government is a set of systems, institutions, or people driving or making those decisions. So the difference between the process and the people that implement the process. And accountability is one of the features of good governance. You cannot have good governance without accountability. Because if someone has to be a good governor, or before you can have a good government, the government has to be accountable, meaning responsible or becoming liable for whatever happened in a society, being answerable, reporting to the needs of people that the people lead. And I have a very extended definition of good governance, and which I want to read like this. Good governance signifies a participative manner of government that functions in an accountable and transparent manner based on principles of efficiency, legitimacy, and consensus for the purpose of promoting the right of individual citizens and public interest. I would love to discuss this definition, but because I was told I have only 5 minutes, I think I'll just skip because we have more important issues to discuss. So, good governance is to steer leadership of people in a good way. When headsmen or headswomen, statesmen and women at the helm of affairs of country carry its people along, then we can say we have good governance. So it's more about participation. If young people's aspirations are recognized and fulfilled, then we can have good governance. So good governance is a very big elephant. So it depends on the experience you have. But 3 people went to an elephant. One touched the nose, the other one touched the stomach, the other one touched the tail. So everyone has different experience about what elephant is. So that's what happened to good governance. We may have all different perception about what good governance. So we may not have one clear, acceptable definition of good governance, but we can also discuss how we can achieve good governance. Bad governance shouldn't also be let aside, because I believe we have more bad governance or government in the world than good governance. But this could be debatable. It depends on our experiences. I would like to discuss some of the indicators. What are things that we can see that we say we have good governance or good governance or government? Once the people's sense of pride and belonging is recognized or is at high level, then we can say we have good governance. When the people in a country, they are feeling belonging, their aspirations, their needs are reflected in the government decisions, then we can say we have good governance. The hopes of the people, what government are doing to realize the hopes of the people in the country. And people feeling security, feeling that they're in the safer hands. That also is an indicator that we have good governance. Freedom of expression, people expressing their minds, their feelings, their opinion about things without fear of being abducted or being punished. It's another expression of having good governance. And leaders should be heeding to the people's wishes. If people in the community said that we don't want you in power, then, or we don't want this decision, or we don't want this policy, the people of power have to also respect the minds and the opinions of the citizens. And we must have mutual acceptance to cooperate together. Both the parties, the people in government, the people that are led, they have to also accept to work together. And we have 4 types of government. Outside from the bottom, which is the worst type of government we can have. There is a government that is despised and detested by its people. And there's a government that people fear. And then there's a government that people praise. People will say the government that people praise could be a good government, but not necessarily the case all the time. But the best government is the type of government that people do not know it exists. People's needs are met without knowing that who made those decisions, without praise, without claim for political credit or compensation for what the government is doing. So this is the best type of government we can have. So to be a good leader, one has to sacrifice and demand nothing in return. And how are we going to achieve good governance? We need to have strong institutions and rule of law. And we need to have separation of powers. Both the executive, judiciary, and the legislative arm of government, they all have to be independent without fear or favor, without favoring any of the sections. And we also have to acknowledge minorities and marginalized groups, because to be a good governor or to have a good governance, everybody's interest has to be understood and has to be addressed. And these are the three major, I think, things we need to have good governance. And okay, I'll skip these ones. So good governance depends on the people. The people decide whether to have good government or bad government, because the power is in the hands of the people. And that's why democracy is one of the ingredients for having good governance. We cannot have good governance without democracy.
You have 1 minute remaining.
So I will skip this as well. So I think the answer of having good governance lies on young people, especially because young people, especially in developing countries, they constitute, I think, almost 87% of the population in developing countries. So they have the majority. If young people are carried along, we can say that the majority of population are carried along, because the young people have the energy, creativity, and the enthusiasm to participate and contribute meaningfully in the leadership process. So young people should be involved. And this is a very good opportunity we have post-2015 development agenda, where we can strengthen youth potentials and positions in society to play a vital role in ensuring good governance in our society. And having a very well-structured and powerful youth institution, youth organizations like National Youth Councils is very important. And even not at national, at international level, to have one global voice for young people. It's one of the key factors to having the young people participating in ensuring good governance. And that's why Commonwealth Youth Council is promoting to have a stand-alone goal for young people in this post-2015. And we are going to have our side event today, where we're going to have open debate for all participants to come and participate and share their minds about what they think, whether young people should have a stand-alone goal in the post-2015 development framework, or how do you go about it. And the Commonwealth, at large, I think is one of the leading examples in giving young people the voice by instituting the Commonwealth Youth Council and then bringing young people at every decision-making level. Young people are reflected at the Commonwealth. And before I go, finally, before I go to bed, I asked one of my hotel roommate, I asked him, who is a good governor you can tell me in the world? He spent like 5 minutes thinking. He could not mention a single person that generally accepted good leader in the world. And that, I will also tell you or ask you the same question. Who do you think currently a living example of a good governor across the world, that everyone, if you mention the name, everyone will agree that that is a good governor? For example, if I say Mandela now, Mandela, everyone will agree that it's a good governor, has led very exemplary leadership. And we have to also learn from his trade, from what he has led, because if there's any generation that has right to claim the legacies of Nelson Mandela, should be the current generation of young people. That's we. And things that we have to learn to wrap up are forgiveness. The people in bad leaders, the bad leaders, we have to learn to forgive them, because they don't want to go because they're afraid of being punished. So what Nelson Mandela taught us, that even if they led badly, we have to forgive them, because we have to forge ahead. We have to love one another. There's no discrimination. We have to have peace. We have to respect peace. We have to sacrifice, and we have to be optimistic. We have to believe in the future. We have to have positive thinking.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just a few things that I carried away as you were speaking. We can't have good governance without accountability. Governance has to report to the needs of the people. We have to have meaningful engagement, strengthen structured and powerful institutions that promote youth development. We need to have a one global voice. And thank you very much. You want to be overboard with time, but thank you very much. We're going to go to the next.